Okay, not enough people appreciated the video on the solutions to devirtualization, so I'm going to go back to my clickbait video titles because that seems to be helping. So subscribe to me on Patreon, support me on Patreon if you're capable of doing that. I really would need your support. I would really appreciate it. If you want to subscribe to me on all the social medias, even though I don't do much there. But in today's video, I'm going to repeat a lot of the talking points I already made in the previous two videos because it is very important we actually start engaging in the work of devirtualizing, which means we need to free our time to actually participate in our fate making, which means our free time is not when we sit on our phones and just sit and watch videos or watch movies or do whatever. Our free time is when we're capable of influencing something in our life for the better. So boring things would include things like hitting the gym or going for a walk or conversing with a friend or reading a book. These are all things that you actually do to free up your time and to free up your mind from the capitalist indoctrination that surrounds us. And this is not a panacea. If you do all these things, if you walk around, talk to people, read books, and exercise and do all the healthy things, that does not mean you are now not a subject under capitalism. It just means that you may be better equipped to resist some of the virtualization processes that take place nowadays. It's not a question of whether you are an ideological subject or not. It is a question, are you able to meaningfully self-actualize in the current conditions for the liberation of everyone in the future? Because it isn't going to be a revolution and it goes overnight, a little bit of civil war or something, and it's over. Unfortunately, that's not how it's going to go. There is a lot of work that happens before any kind of drastic change. And there's also a huge process of building that happens after. And in this process of building is when people usually crumble and their communities crumble. There has been a ton of communes built throughout 19th century and the 20th century where people were like, we're not going to participate in capitalism anymore because it's bad. I'm not making fun of these people. I'm just a little bitter at the fact that it doesn't really work actually if you just want to free yourself from the burden of capitalism and leave everyone else to continue living under it. But many people tried and they all failed. None of those communes worked. I will drop some links down below from Madeline Pendleton's podcasts about the communes. Unfortunately, you cannot escape. You cannot hide away in your little hideout with your friends and family. That's not gonna happen. And that is sad. Of course it is sad. It is not great that we will have to fight. But the fight does not have to be physical necessarily. The fight will also have to happen elsewhere. Who do you think feeds the people during some drastic events? Who do you think reads books with children? Do you think life just stops? It just ceases when there's some kind of drastic event? If you've ever been in any kind of a force majeure situation, in a situation of a flood or a hurricane or a tsunami or an earthquake or war or anything, do you think life just stops? Your body stops needing to eat, your mind stops thinking about all the other things, your body stops needing clothes, etc., etc. No. We are going to need all kinds of skills. And we need these skills now too. And when we participate in the virtualization processes, we actually begin finding our place of power. Yes, it sounds very pathos-filled because it is. So when we find our place of power, this is when we have a direct experience. So you can also call it an immediate experience. I'm going to insert the word in Russian right here. You can look it up yourselves if you're interested in other translations, but I translate it as a direct or immediate experience. And this is the type of an experience that everybody has to have to actually be fully, truly human. And many of us may spontaneously have these when we experience art, music, movies, paintings, whatever. We can have a direct experience, but we can also have direct experiences with other people. When we talk to people, when we dance with people, when we sing with people, when we do any kind of communal practices, we may be able to have those direct experiences. and they are necessary for us to see what it is we're striving towards. Because have you ever had an amazing experience with some people? Maybe you read something together and you shared something that you did not feel comfortable sharing with others before. Maybe you became vulnerable with these people and they supported you. You had this direct experience. You felt fully, truly human. Then you went on and sang some songs with these people. You sat under the full moon and you told stories in the dark and you started a campfire, and it was an amazing experience. The weather was great and you just had a blast. If you have these experiences, you're going to know what it is you're striving towards. You're striving towards such experiences. And this is just one little example, okay? I can sit here and give you an example after example after example, because I have had many of such experiences for which I'm eternally grateful. And I can give you a ton of examples of these direct experiences and how they change you. They ultimately change your brain chemistry. They change the way your nervous system works. They show you what the world could have been if it wasn't for capitalism. You see how you could give to people so much of yourself, yet still remain full of life, full of inspiration, full of desire to live. This is an unspeakable type of an experience. This is not some kind of religious hysteria. You can have this experience on the daily. It may not be as tremendous as the first time. It may not be as spectacular as the first time when you have it. But this is an experience that you realize everybody must have all the time. And it's the capitalism, the mode of production that just happened to be such, that just happened to fall into place because of the way history was developing. These were some series of coincidences, basically, that led to this path. It was not meant to be this way. It was not the best way. It is just something that happened. If you throw sticky stuff at the wall, something's gonna stick, something's not gonna stick. So this is how humanity has lived for some time. Arguably, people in the past who experienced primitive communism, they have been a little bit better at observing the patterns of things sticking, and they kind of realize that, well, you know, most of the things that stick are us working together as a community. But then we kind of lost that knowledge. We did not, actually. We never lost that knowledge. It has been beaten out of us with colonial and imperialist powers. They have beaten it out of indigenous peoples all over the world, and they convinced everyone and they forced everyone. Actually, I take my word back, not convinced. They did not convince anyone. They forced everyone to accept that mode of production because it was bringing profit to a select few. And it continues, it goes on, and it prevents us from having true human experiences. It prevents us from actually self-realizing and having a true subjective experience. Our individual subjective experience in a vacuum is impossible. We cannot make ourselves. We cannot sit in a little room surrounded by nothing in complete emptiness and become humans. We can only become ourselves in relation to the others. It is that relation to the other that makes us who we are. And the other people will also do the same. They will become subjects because of us, the other people. So this is how the collective subjectivity is formed. And then it goes on to define a class consciousness or a class subjectivity. And then it goes on to form a societal subjectivity. So different societies at different times of history had different subjectivities. Nowadays, the vast majority of the world has to follow capitalist subjectivity, more specifically virtualized capitalist subjectivity, which gives us a ton of fragments, a ton of pieces of identities that then later we glue together with some goodwill and some spit. And we pretend that this is what makes us people. And this is truly pathetic. It is very unfortunate for us all. It is not a true human experience. And if you think that sitting around a campfire singing songs and sharing vulnerable moments with people is not something you want to experience because you're so independent and you are a libertarian and you want to be independent, think about all the freaking tools and technology that you're using right now. You're using language. You did not come up with this language. Go on, come up with your own language and see if you can make people speak this language to you. No, they're not going to. Yes, some people have made artificial languages, but very few people speak them. They don't really, there's no necessity for such languages to exist. Languages evolved over time because people put in the effort, put in their subjectivity, their free will. Limited, of course. Free will is always going to be limited, just as freedom is. And this is how the languages have been formed. And now you're using it to spew nonsense. So there are a ton of experiences that one can imagine and envision. And we need to realize that we may not be the recipients of these good experiences anytime soon because the status quo is just not interested in promoting that. You're not going to be able to do any of these things without money. But an alternative is there, and it is called communism. Study what communism is first before you start saying that you don't think communism is gonna work. If you hate communism, that is because Mother America, Father America, Daddy, Big Daddy America has been indoctrinating you for a long time. Look at the CIA archives. They admit to it. They're not even trying to hide it. It's in plain sight. They lied to you about the USSR. They lied to you about every single socialist project because they don't want you to become a revolutionary or a socialist of any sorts. Because then their status quo is threatened. Then their assets, their property is threatened. And they don't want to let go of their property because they're afraid that they have nothing else besides this property. But I'm not going to sit and cry for their trauma because I have too many tears to shed for the proletariat, for the working class. So the roundup is go watch the previous video where I was trying to eloquently and calmly explain to you what I've been reading with the comrades from Marina Burik's work, A Virtualized World of Capitalism. Support me on Patreon if you can. Do take care of yourself and your community first. Subscribe to me on all the social medias, even though I don't do much there. Stick around, support me any way you can, and I hope you have a great day today, and I'll talk to you sometime later.